We all have different ambitions in life. Some it's around work, some it's around family, some it's around the body, health. But one thing we all have in common is that we all have our own company. Wherever we go, there we are. To have the ambition to simply develop the self, provide the best company for the self. This is the objective of spiritual study. The belief that peace and happiness begin from within the self. How well do I know the self? And how much attention do I have on the state of the self as I go through the day? Such a deep habit of looking outside, whether it's at other people, at situations, or just waiting for a certain outcome. The art of learning to turn inwards, introvert, and give attention to the true source of peace and happiness, which is the state of the self. To first learn more about the self, and how to cultivate the best in the self. And then to pay constant but enthusiastic attention on this inner activity, truly keeping an loving eye on the self. Om Shanti.
Shanti, good evening. Welcome to Interview with Raj Yogi. So, we have been uh, having a pause with the interview for quite some time. So, tonight's session is about attention on the self. And the commentary was so easy to look at others, and where is my attention regarding the self? So, perhaps just in terms of maybe a bit more of an introductory question, in terms of Raj Yoga, you hear paying attention to the self and actually a lot of different things out there. And what makes it unique when it comes to what Raj Yoga is about in terms of attention on the self?
Oh, Shanti. So, Raj Yoga is a spiritual study. So, a couple of very unique things, obviously, is the concept of self. So, who I'm actually paying attention to. So, to start to see the self as a soul, a spiritual being, and to pay attention to the self in that way is very unique. So, not the roles or the responsibilities or relationships or image, but really at the self. And also the reason why I'm paying attention to the self, the understanding that one's peace, one's happiness, everything depends on the state of the self, the, if you will, purity of the self. So both what the self is and doing it is quite unique in Raj Yoga.
Do you feel that it takes time to even have a proper attention to oneself because we don't even know what it means to be a soul? So there could be a lot of other things we're paying attention to from old habits, and it seems like even just like a whole lifetime of a journey just to even know what it means to be a soul. So to even understand what am I paying attention to.
So there's things that we have very well developed capacity to pay attention. We're very good at paying attention to people, situations, etc. So we want to take that well developed capacity and obviously look at the self. What is different is attention experiencing through the physical senses to what is physically visible to us. And so to be able to shift it to what we call this sensitive to the visible, it's the piece that takes a little bit of time, but it's not that we have to create the environment or get it. It's just closed. Some of the ideal conditions, obviously timing is one of them, but the ideal conditions to open that sensitive to the subtle and transition capacity of paying attention, subtle.
So we're talking about attention on the self. And so just what you were sharing, I was reflecting a lot on awareness. And in terms of the quality of, you were talking about myself as a soul, how about the quality of what that awareness is? We've probably mentioned about it, but you often have shared yourself, it's more than just that I'm a point of light. And what does that even mean? What is awareness, and how can we perhaps maybe think that we, are having intention that I'm a soul, but it's actually just a thought or it's just a concept? Because when it comes to these aspects like awareness, thoughts, they are very subtle, and it seems like it's very slippery for us to know what we're actually doing.
Experiences of considering myself to be a soul it's as if I develop a completely different personality. So when I think I'm the body coming to the image, my personality changes. And come back to the self and consider myself to be a soul, I return to my true, authentic self, my true personality. So this is it's a huge part of is what we experience or feel. It's subtle, invisible, not physical, but this is something that I think is very simple and easy for us to connect to, is the experience of our nature. So, for example, we say when we're truly subconscious, we feel extremely peaceful, and that we will know what's going on around me. I will have this really peaceful experience. So that's something that is a beautiful bridge between the physical and the non-physical, the experience of these qualities from our nature.
How does one tell if they're just thinking about peace? Oftentimes I do hear that souls say I can only meditate when there's certain types of music on, or if I'm in a certain surrounding or environment, in terms of that quality of peace.
That's really the answer, is that if it is dependent on certain conditions, it's probably not quite the so being able to have this very contented experience of peace, or really don't need anything. And it doesn't matter what's going on, it doesn't matter what the conditions are. Having a conversation with someone today, and I was saying that the seated meditations weren't so great and very hit and miss, but as I walked and moved away, so that the subconscious experiences, because they felt so much peace, lightness, and other qualities of the soul. It didn't matter. So it was to be sealed, space, some music, to have an experience of myself as a soul. To, to do this in all sorts of different conditions. But I'm going to reality.
What do you feel the role of really actually accepting, believing that I'm a soul, faith and trust that I'm a soul? How much does that play a part? Sometimes students mention it's a hit and miss in terms of they feel very blissed out, to be able to maintain that, whether or not what their awareness of their self is. I think that sometimes they acknowledge that as well. They're not too sure.
I've always appreciated that a specific script is given for subconsciousness. I do have the script. The script is quite this idea that I'm operating on and simple. It's very simple. Basic. It's not intention. Um, to script and give myself time to feel it. But I think patient destination. But now kind of expecting to how the destination. So keeping it very basic and simple.
There was one time when a soul had asked, uh, actually, there's more than one occasion when different souls have asked, how can I tell if I am experiencing peace and it's actually through my mind, versus like this really authentic, genuine experience of being a soul?
So can experience peace. Um, it's constant and independent of what's going on. So it's great to experience different things. See meditation. Can do this on this, can do this while shopping, to try it in different context. I feel that everyone is emotionally, this is true. We're so technique. This isn't technique. So, things we actually do. So, actually, so, I don't want to so, just so, just talking. So, 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 to experience. So, so how I feel now. So,
That's so powerful what you're sharing because I was realizing yesterday during a meditation that some of the deepest things that make a big difference seem very, very flimsy. And I don't mean that they're flimsy, meaning in the face of physicality, used to proof, used to even thinking a lot, used to pain and pushing that just faith. But I agree completely. But I found that why this is relevant to this aspect of attention, because the question that kept coming up was, I don't. Are we really sure we know what we're needing to pay attention to? Because that seems to be a big part if I'm not paying attention to awareness, um, or even the relationship between, as you're sharing about faith and being a soul, which is why maybe sometimes some souls are asking, like, maybe I'm just thinking about it. Maybe it's just in my mind. So I wasn't sure if you had anything to share about that.
and there's a principle in physical movement, this idea of recruiting. So, so I may be asked to do a particular exercise. And generally, if we say, for example, do a push up, we would try to assume the position, just start going at it. What is ideal is that I take a moment before I start to move anything or try anything. I take a moment to become very quiet and consciously, for example, maybe activate your scapula, your shoulder girdle. And we do have a scapula, a shoulder girdle. There is something there to activate, but it requires me actually giving attention to it. Usually I just go out to push up mindlessly, not even thinking about their scapula. Sometimes I'm slowing things down. I'm putting my attention in a particular place, the scapula, and I'm not doing this to activate the strength. So, consciousness, okay, the consciousness, I'm separate from the body. But then I get to go on to everything else. I sit with that, so tell me into a feeling. It's attention, attention on this we're sitting here right now. It's time listening to it. We need to experience the heart beating. There's always been to experience it. So do it. intention go to attention. Someone else will listen to us to attention and see what happens. I suddenly can feel it. Someone's there. So attention. This is again the script is so important. To consciousness of I'm separate from the body. So it's always the case. So it's always the case. I hope it's going to become a soul because I'm thinking that this is so just some attention, something very specific.
This relationship between faith, knowing that I'm soul, and the feeling I was reminded of for regular students, the class on this last Sunday about these four subjects in Raja Yoga. So knowledge, and then you can call it remember. We call it the word yoga, the experience. And then there is dharana, our character, and service, which that's a big topic on its own. Just in terms of what you were talking about, if I had proper alignment, what does that look like in terms of embodiment of knowledge and embodiment of remembrance or yoga? At least those first two pieces, because just realizing that we seem to be thinking intellectually is embodiment knowledge. Oh, I know I'm a soul, I talk about it. And well, remembrance, that's another tricky one too, because it feels like it's again back to the quality of what am I experiencing? Therefore, what am I paying attention to?
So if I'm governing into an experience, some feel something peaceful, interesting, is how I feel so, some change. So it's not just that I feel peaceful, actually I feel respectful. So, 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 so it changes the heart. It's actually happened. So this she's doesn't happen thinking about it. It doesn't get to the heart.
Well, thank you, Sister Judy. I know we have run out of time, so we'll have a brief reflection.
I have become very inattentive to the sound. My attention has moved elsewhere, outside of the sound, become engrossed in the oceans. Just my, so my attention gently concentrates as if I were the actor stepping out of the costume. And experiencing our true nature, our point of peace. Now, this is possible so creating a feeling, but if it's the compass, truly state is a big experience. This will change, not using the words to create the experience, a different experience, it change. Shanti.
Om Shanti, thank you for joining with us this evening. So, we have drop in sessions throughout the week online. We still have our Monday evening sessions at the Inner Peace Center in English, as well as on Wednesdays, I believe, in Hindi. We have our Learn About Meditations. I believe it's usually the fourth Saturday of each month, but we can't always count on that, so it's best to check the websites. We also have a special Shivratri program, to my knowledge. It's in Hindi with English translation happening on Saturday, February 14th. And so I believe that will be posted on our website pretty soon if it's not there as well. But if you have any questions about any courses coming up or any other sessions, please feel free to email us or visit the website. Thank you for joining. Om Shanti.